Welcome to Leading Beyond Limits, the podcast where we explore the extraordinary journeys and insights of remarkable leaders who have pushed the boundaries of what's possible. Your host, Angel Radcliffe, who is a digital transformation leader, author, speaker, and financial educator, will lead each episode and dive deep into the stories, strategies, and philosophies that have empowered these exceptional individuals to lead, inspire, and achieve beyond the ordinary. We're about to embark on a journey of discovery and inspiration, and together, we'll learn what it takes to lead beyond limits. So grab your cape, or at least your favorite coffee mug, because we're about to unravel the extraordinary tales of trailblazers who've turned impossible into I'm possible. Let's get started.
Today, we are talking about effortless leadership, and we have a special guest, Erin Craske, who is an award-winning strategist with 20 years of experience in leading global consumer brands. Erin brings a wealth of expertise in this particular topic, as well as strategic development, profitability, leadership, and communication. She has a passion for empowering impact-driven businesses to succeed on their terms and to create a ripple effect of goodness. Join us as we dive into Erin's insights on effortless leadership and how you can lead with ease. Erin, welcome to the show.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Angel, for having me.
I'm excited to have you on and for you to share all of your strategies and techniques around effortless leadership. It's a topic that we have not dived into before on this show. And I am so impressed with your background. You have done some amazing things in your career, and now you are focused on strategy and advisory. Can you tell us a little bit more about your career journey and how it's led you to where you are today?
There's something to talk about in terms of learnings that I can share. So when I started my career, there was nothing, I guess, exciting. It's like very clean. It's like good family, good school, good grades, good university, good first company. So the only thing that brought me to this path is common belief, like we all have societal beliefs of how we're supposed to be. And that was something that I learned since childhood, that if you want to be a valid part of a society, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to work for a good company, make good money, and build a good career. And this is kind of all I knew. So I decided for myself that I am an employee. I'm not an entrepreneur. And I, chose this path. Whether I chose it or whether it was chosen for me, it's a different story. But this is, the direction that I took. At some point in one of the companies, we were going through leadership process, and I was positioned as a lister, the person who progresses faster than other people in the company. And once a year, you create or you fill in something like an assessment where you're supposed to write down your aspirations. And my manager, she asked me whether I would like to be a marketing director. And I was still very young. It was in the beginning of my career. And somehow, I don't know why, but already at that time, I said no. And she said, no, it's not a good answer, because if you don't say yes, you're not going to be promoted. I'm like, all right, so I want to be a marketing director, no worries, right? So, and this is how I became, list, and this is how I got promoted faster than other people. But there was something, that wasn't resonating with me. Besides, I'm also a rebel. So within corporate environment, I always considered myself to be a misfit. Nothing wrong with it. I just didn't want to blend in. I don't accept authority at all, apart from those people that I personally choose to respect. And I don't follow orders. I don't really in favor of extreme political correctness or playing games. So, and often what I noticed within corporate environment is that these qualities are preferred and considered more for virtue over, for example, care. when you care for business, when you care for your clients, when you care for your consumers. So this is something that won't let you progress as quickly as following the rules. So that was also kind of, a little bit of a complication. So altogether, all my career was progressing as I was supposed to, but through a lot of dissatisfaction, I wasn't really felt comfortable again, depending on the company. Some companies had very good leaders, some were absolutely horrible. So depending on the company, you either felt better or I felt worse. But at the same time, I still didn't want to be a marketing director. So I was just progressing because it was a natural progression. I remember there were a few people that were pushing me for an MBA. I was like, I don't want an MBA. It's not what I want to do. I don't really care. I'm good enough like that. So at some point, I appear to be in a situation where I realized that I don't want to go back, but I didn't know what else I could do. So basically, I knew what I don't want, but I didn't know what I want. And that is not a good situation to be in because you end up being totally aimless. You're like drifting, you're losing your direction, you're losing your aspiration. It's not a nice place to be in when you don't have a destination towards which you're trying, to move. And so from this place, I went through a deep personal transformation. During this time, I really didn't know who I was. And then after the transformation, one morning, I woke up and I had a download. It's like, I'm going to be a coach. I had no idea about coaching. I met two coaches in my previous life. One was good, the second one was absolutely, I wouldn't recommend her to anybody. So that was my kind of, impression. All I knew about coaching, that the latest lady who worked with me, like, no, if this is coaching, I'd better stay away from it. But somehow the thought felt so natural. And also, while I was in marketing, I was always dreaming about becoming a clinical psychologist because I love psychology and I love consumer psychology. So this is probably why, it felt natural because it gave me an opportunity to start my personal development in the direction that apparently I always wanted, not being a marketing director, but but being, I don't know how we call it, expert specialist in human nature. So this is how it happened unexpectedly.
Wow. And I feel like the best things always happen unexpectedly or when we did not necessarily plan for it or plan our careers the way we wanted it to go. And you always have to be ready for your plan B, your plan C. But Erin, one thing that you've said that resonated with me, and I was over here laughing. I was like, gosh, we have something in common is challenging the status quo. So being different and not always wanting to be politically correct. I felt the same way. I still feel the same way in my career. And similar to you earlier in my career, I felt like it hindered me. So I was not going along the path of everyone else and I wanted to do my own thing and I wanted to challenge leadership and being innovative. There's a certain way to do things when you challenge the status quo. That's one huge lesson that I've learned in my career. There's nothing wrong with shaking things up, but you have to really learn how to play the game and do it the right way. And I do what I want. My friends laugh at me. I'm like, I do what I want. I make my own rules. But I mean, not to say that I get your point across or to share something that's completely different from the common way of thinking. And if I would have known that skill when I was earlier in my career, gosh, I'd be somewhere, I don't know, running someone's Fortune 100 company right now.
No, you
But
know what? I don't believe because, Fortune 100, I believe that there are different qualities that are appreciated. So I wouldn't expect many rebels to be there unless you're a narcissistic rebel. That's also possible, though unlikely. But how I would call myself a conscious rebel. and conscious rebel who is not rebelling for the sake of it, but for the sake of doing good. So you are rebelling against something that makes no sense, that is dragging the world down, that is not good for society, is not good for people, planet, whatever, right? So we are rebelling to make the world a better place. So I guess it's a different type. And yeah, you may not even be politically correct, but who cares? Because ultimately, if somebody doesn't perceive well what you say, very often it's nothing to do with you, it's to do with how they perceive it, right? It's within their heads that may be a problem and not with what you say.
Some good words, but conscious rebel, I'm gonna have to add that one to my list. I haven't used that one before, but I definitely have called myself a rebel a few times, and yeah, I've done some very interesting things. But
Pleasure is
this
mine.
this show's all about you. I want you to, as we walk through, I love how you're so transparent, and it's always those transparencies that help inspire and encourage someone else. And so you went through these experiences, and you've been a rebel, and we talked about effortless leadership, and
Mhm.
I'd like for you just to explain what that means to you, and how does it differ from traditional leadership?
Oh, well, the first thing, I don't believe I could have asked you what is traditional leadership, and then we could have another probably dialogue, about that. But I don't believe there's such thing as traditional leadership. Because if you start looking for it, there's so many different types of leadership that I refuse to try to remember all of them, because some of them are similar, some of them totally different, but there are plenty of different types. So I don't even know which traditional, which one is not any longer. When I was a leader, I combined two leadership styles now that, looking back, because obviously at that time, I don't believe I was conscious about what I was doing. In the company, I was told transformational leadership that is very much business driven. And by nature, I guess I was preferring something that I would call humanistic leadership, more like people driven. So it's like you have organizational objectives versus people objectives, employees objectives. And then you have different slight differences. So basically, I was taking a little bit from every style to create something that is more suitable to me. And because of being a rebel, typically we are authentic. It just by nature, you really care a little bit less than other psychotype about what people say, what about you. So which gives you more freedom to be authentic. And I thought that at that time, I was actually authentic because I was a good person. And yes, I was doing what I thought is right. And I have and had and have now still high morals. So, there's nothing that I could reproach to myself. But that was interesting. When I went through this transformation period I was referring to earlier, what actually happened, I had my ego, my identity dissolved. And together with the self-definition, I shed off limiting beliefs and expectations and judgments and worries, anxieties, anything, all the things that we have in our heads, including roles that we presume we play, or including the definition of the self-concept of who we believe we are, all that I don't have it anymore. And I came to the place of being tabula rasa in a certain way. And from this place, I realized that what I used to call authenticity, actually it wasn't. It was authentic to who I was, with all these beliefs, all these limitations, all these definitions, but it wasn't me. Because when you shed it off and you become your, I don't know, naked self, your core self, it's a different personality. And this is what I call effortless, because when you not only authentic, but you are in 100% harmony with the world, people, yourself, and your mind is peaceful. That is totally incredible, because this freedom of you being yourself and being free in this world is absolute. And because there's one truth that I learned, that we are much better than what we think we are. A lot of people, they are afraid of self-reflecting because they're afraid to discover something that they won't like about themselves. But what we don't like about ourselves, it's not who we are. This is what we need to get rid of, right? This is like I don't know, volcanic ash covering and suffocating the vegetation underneath. So if you remove this layer, and you will become your core self, we are amazing individuals. We just don't know about it. And so when you become a leader from this place of being who you meant to be, and you are meant to be the most confident and the most potent and the most powerful individual, with peace of mind and in harmony with yourself and the environment. So can you imagine what kind of leader you're going to be? When you don't need approval, when you don't need control, when you don't need aggression, when you don't have insecurities, when you don't have stress, because it's like, it's a mental pressure you're going through. When you don't have this mental health complications. I'm not obviously, talking about severely challenging cases, but stress or lack of sleep, or an ability to focus, they're all, in a way, mental health complications. So that is what I called effortless. You just come to the place of being your genuine self, and you lead from this place without looking back.
Excellent. Excellent, Erin. And you shared so many examples of a leader who would embody like these qualities of being an effortless leader. I know you mentioned being authentic and just being peaceful and having your mind at peace and being in harmony. But let's really look at, what it takes to be a leader. I mean, sometimes you're under so much stress and you're trying to manage a team and delegate tasks and
Mm-hmm.
ensure you have a winning team, a performing team. Are you
Mm-hmm.
saying that leading effortlessly that you sort of throw those things out the window, or how do you deal with that? How can you have peace of mind where you have all of these things that are happening at work and deadlines that you need to meet?
Well, there's so many different questions in one, because, with regards to deadlines, I would presume that you need to plan better to start with, right? It's about having responsibilities well distributed amongst team members, everybody aware of what's going on. It's about having transparency. It's about having processes, that are easy to follow, that everybody can adhere to. It's about loosening up control and letting people deliver or improve what they're doing instead of kind of micromanage and scrutinize them. It's about knowing where to delegate and knowing that you're not supposed to do everything. It's about setting objectives that don't rule your life, because a lot of stress, and actually not all stress that we're experiencing, in all fairness, it's our thinking, right? So we create stress because we think certain thoughts. So, it's also about working on yourself and learning how to quiet your mind or how to keep it empty. It's also about your mindset, because if you shape all your working experience through striving to achieve something, and if it's all that preoccupies you is how we can achieve, how we're going to make it, we're going to achieve, that's a massive thing that all trying to achieve. This thought alone creates stress. but they're just different ways of looking at it. You can focus on the next step. You can look at different streams together. You can allow again employees to go through improvement process, whatever they are responsible for. You can focus on improving what you're doing every moment instead of constantly looking at the future and seeing what you're achieving, what you're not achieving. And when you focus on improving whatever you're doing day to day, it will get better. It's impossible for a business not to get better, but it's very possible for a business to struggle when you look at your goal and you don't pay attention what's going on with you, business, and your team on a day-to-day basis. It depends where you shift your attention. It's all about the mindset and appreciation that some things in our way of thinking, they don't serve us, and some do. So just choose the game that you play in your mind.
And those are great tips around sort of balancing delegation and having some accountability and just creating that environment. I know a lot of the concepts that you sort of brought up with leading effortlessly has to do with personal mindset and how you sort of balance things and being self-aware. And that's not a natural quality within everyone. So for someone who does not have great self-awareness or doesn't necessarily know how to be in tune with themselves, like what are some recommendations that you would give to someone to get started and starting this process of being an effortless leader?
Oh, that's a very good question. I usually shy away from questions how to, or tips how to, because I kind of believe they're totally meaningless. Because if the person doesn't want to change, and I had a conversation with somebody recently, I said that according to me, to my understanding, around 80% people don't want to change. And he said, oh no, 90% don't want to change. I'm like, all right, okay. So we have 10% of people that are ready to work on their self-improvement and learn about self-awareness. So, yeah, for those who would like to better understand themselves, the very simple exercise, it's the journaling. You know, every evening, look back at your day and look at the things that you were not happy with. It's like you didn't like your reaction, you didn't like your emotions, you didn't like your behavior. Something made you uncomfortable. And start questioning, where is it coming from? You can ask why, why I felt this way, and it's like a ladder. I think and actually in business it's called 5 whys process, a framework. In brand strategy, it's called laddering. So when you ladder to the last answer that you can't any longer answer, so why, and just to get to the core, what made such a reaction? Why, you felt stressed, why you felt angry, why you felt frustrated, whatever. So that's a good way of understanding, and write it down, because when you start write down, it just allows you, to pour all your thinking on paper without editing. And sometimes, first of all, it's very liberating for your mind and for your peace of mind, especially if you do it before going to bed, so you can free your bed from everything that keeps you awake at night. And also because you will have a better understanding and you may actually see patterns behind certain reactions and certain behaviors that will be definitely helpful. And another thing that you can do, if you really like to, is look at how you define leadership. What is the definition of a perfect leader? And ask yourself, where is it coming from? And whether it's true, or whether it's just, your perception that you think is true. And then ask yourself, and what kind of leader would you like to be? Genuinely, from the bottom of your heart. Does it match your definition of leadership? And where it's not matching, how does it make you feel? So it's a lot of self-reflection exercises, but it's about understanding yourself better. And, If you're not comfortable to discuss it with anybody, just discuss it with your paper, whatever you write it on, and then read it and think about it. So I guess that's the best start.
I love that. Journaling, self-reflection, and understanding the type of leader that you would like to be. And Erin, those are really great tips. I know self-reflection can help anyone in any situation,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
think especially when you're on this journey to leadership, and then once you're actually in it, sometimes it's a whirlwind. And depending on the company you work for, you may not be getting that proper feedback. I know a lot of companies tend to focus on what's called 360 feedback, where you're not only giving that feedback to your team, but you're receiving it from your team, from your peers, your leadership, from your internal and external stakeholders, and understanding and having a better view of yourself. Now, here's my thing, my hang up, and I
Yeah.
probably say this way more often than
Mhm.
I need to. Companies do such a terrible job at leadership development. And most people who are moving up that career ladder and moving into various leadership roles barely receive the training they need to succeed. So those soft skills that they need to focus on, the
Mhm.
leadership skills they need to focus on to be successful and how to not only manage their team, but keep that relationship going and all of the essential things that we know leadership to be, right? Now, for someone who is in a leadership role, they are wanting to take this path of sort of leading with ease. How can they start to identify challenges and obstacles?
It depends on the challenges and obstacles. I guess I'm a little bit more radical, in my opinion. So probably because I'm a little bit older, probably a little bit wiser. But I do believe that, oh, how would I phrase it nicely? Not being totally politically incorrect. Your company and your business is as good as your leadership team. Or another way is to say that your company performance depends on the leadership team. And when I talk about leadership, I mean executives, right? The top team or the top guy, because sometimes when the top guy changes, the whole company changes. One person, everybody else is the same, but the company becomes unrecognizable. So, to tell you the truth, if you're middle management and if the ambiance in the company and the way the company is managed doesn't answer your criteria, your values, your aspirations, I don't believe there's anything you can do in it apart from leaving it. Because I don't believe that people in the mid level, such as employee, are able to do something apart from revolution, if they go against the current, if they go against the executive team. It depends on the challenges and obstacles. Some challenges and obstacles, yes, you can overcome, depends on the level of freedom that you're given and the level of trust that you're given and the level of challenge that leadership team is willing to listen to and accept, actually. But if these are not given, then I believe that the best way would be to leave before it's too late.
Really great insights. And again, I feel like you're so transparent and you're open with sharing so much. So, Erin, in your opinion, what do you think are the biggest benefits of adopting this effortless leadership approach, both for leaders and their teams?
So when you become yourself, who you meant to be, so it has profound effect, first of all, on your mental health, on your cognitive health, on your emotional health, relational health, right? Because everything that we are experiencing that creates complication in our lives, they come from our thinking, and our thinking very heavily influenced by what we believe. If you get rid of it, and right, so you have beliefs, you have thinking, you have emotions, you have behavior, and then it may actually, somebody may even log the circle. But in reality, if you stop it in the very beginning, you won't experience any consequences that come with our reactions to what's happening, right? So that's why I'm saying that all your human being as holistically as it's possible, I guess, including physical health, because many complications come from stress, and stress comes from emotions and whatever. So that's like the whole thing. It gets taken care of. That's for you as a person. As a leader, you may struggle or, I don't know, feeling stuck, or you may feel insecure, or you may feel stressed because you're overstretched, or you may feel you can't make decisions, or you're not confident, to stand by your decisions. So they all go through different kind of issues, and you can focus on one of them and treat it forever, or then take another one and treat another one. But in reality, they all have the same root cause. So it doesn't really matter how many issues you will decide to work on, because if within, inside, it hasn't been taken care of, all your symptoms, they will persist, right? So as a leader, going this way, you reduce as many symptoms as possible that all stem from the same systemic issues. And then as a team, you will see a person that is actually can be a leader. A leader, the person who empowers, the person that inspires, person that creates ambience of trust, where people feel listened to, where people feel believed in. And, it's different setup, because when we talk about team and when we talk about engagement and quiet quitting and burnout, people don't do it by themselves for the sake of doing it, right? It's because the ambience is toxic. So, and the ambience is dictated by the leader. So the leader changes, the ambience changes, and the team morale is changing. This is how it works. It all starts from one person.
Thank you, Erin. Great insights. And I feel like a broken record, but I feel like you're being so authentic. And I know you mentioned that's one of the qualities of effortless leadership. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us on the show today. I am
Thank
sure
you.
that,
Pleasure was mine.
thank you. I'm sure who are listening are wanting to know, where can they find you online, and if you have anything that can help them with their journey to effortless leadership.
Right. Okay. In the spirit of effortlessness, you can find me if you look in the show notes, as far as it goes.
I love that. We'll have the link in the show notes and you can connect with Erin. And Erin, I just have one last question for you. In your journey as a leader, what is one piece of timeless advice that you can share with our listeners?
Know what you want. And yeah, it may sound simplistic, but people don't know what they want. Having this clarity is very helpful, because it will give you an idea where you're heading and whether you are heading in the right direction. And another piece of advice: know who you are truly. Not who you think you are, but truly who you are. And then I believe your life is going to get sorted.
Thank you for tuning into another inspiring episode of Leading Beyond Limits. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to hear more from our incredible guests, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us. And if you have a remarkable leader in mind who you'd like to hear on our show, or any questions and comments, feel free to reach out to us. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Remember, leadership knows no bounds, and with the right insights and determination, you too can lead beyond limits. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars and leading with purpose.